What's up guys, Cali Sunset Gaming with you again, and it is here. Finally, my FIFA 21 sliders video is out and I'm going to be showing you guys how to adjust the slider settings to get the most realistic experience from FIFA 21. Not only that, but I'm also going to be showing you what each slider does and how it can affect your game. So if these slider settings don't work out for you personally, what you can do is adjust the sliders with the information that I'm giving you to get the most realistic experience possible. I love these videos being about feedback and how you guys get on with the slider settings or how you've adjusted them. I think it's really important that you make sure that you leave your comments in the comment section below on if you got on with them or what changes you had to make, because your comment could help somebody adjust the sliders to get the perfect FIFA 21 experience. I make sure that I read every single one of your guys' comments, so make sure you let me know what you think, as well as smash a like on this video and also hit subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell so you get an update every time I release a brand new video. So let's get into these sliders. Now, the half length obviously doesn't matter, it's just down to your personal preference. The difficulty level that we're having is legendary, very similar to the FIFA 20 slider settings video that I did. It's better to buff up than try and nerf down, so that's what we're going to try and do in this video. So first off, we will start with the user gameplay customization, and then what we'll do is move over to the computer gameplay customization. What I'm going to do is, as I did previously in the FIFA 20 video, I'm not only going to go through each singular stat that I've set it at, but I'm also going to explain the reason behind what I've done. So sprint speed and acceleration, I've got sprint speed at 35 and acceleration at 50. So unchanged for acceleration, but the reason that I've got sprint speed at 35 is just to slow the overall game down. At 50, it sort of has this ice skating vibe to it. Everything's moving really fast. Each iteration of FIFA that comes out seems to be sliding more towards the arcadey type of football play, whereas obviously, I know it's probably a sin to say it, but Pro Evolution Soccer does quite well in terms of emulating football and how it's like in real life, and I think lowering down the sprint speed just gives it a much more realistic vibe. Shot error, so this is the probability of error when taking a shot. I've set this up to 65, so you just have to be a lot more precise with your shots. Obviously, if you're not that confident on FIFA, then you can have it a little bit lower, or if you're really confident in terms of the shots that you're taking and you feel as if you're scoring too many goals, then what you can do is just whack that up to maybe 70 or 75. I found 65 to be the sweet spot for me. Pass error up at 60, so not as common, but basically the higher this is, the more likely that there's going to be a misplaced pass throughout the multiple passes that you play throughout the game. Again, 60 to me seems to be the sweet spot where you're not getting too many, but every so often a misplaced pass whilst you're under pressure can occur. Shot speed down at 45 as well as pass speed at 45. Again, this is just to slow the overall pace of the game down, just to give it that more realistic vibe. But again, if you prefer it to be faster passing, then you can obviously increase this, or faster shots, you can increase it too. Injury frequency and injury severity is something that is purely down to yourself, but personally I found these more interesting on my career mode. Sort of introduced a few more injuries, gave me a few more things to think about in terms of my overall squad depth. So the injury frequency, basically just the frequency at which injuries occur to your team, and the severity is how severe the injury is. Obviously, in a play now match, it's not going to be as evident, but in the course of a career mode, that's where injuries start to take their toll on the overall squad depth that you have, and just give it that added sort of dynamic to make it more interesting. Goalkeeper ability down to 45, so I've only nerfed this by 5 points. I've found myself, if I was lowering it to the 30 ranges, conceding a lot of sloppy goals, a lot of sort of like tap-ins that should be saved. 45 seems to be the perfect waypoint to me. Obviously, if you still feel as if you're conceding a lot of goals at the back, I'd say set this to maybe 55 or 60. That way it makes it a little bit easier for you. The marking, I've got this down to 40. The reason I've got this down to 40 is so that you have to pay more attention whilst playing the game. The AI isn't going to do as much of the marking for you. You have to manually do it, switching between players to ensure that you're keeping tight marking on attacking players. This again is purely just down to your personal preference. Increasing it will basically just increase how tightly your players mark when they're not being controlled by yourself. But I found 40 to be the perfect sort of guideline for that, and it sort of still gives AI a bit of control, but at the same time it relies heavily on you to be able to make sure that you can spot those attackers making those runs and just cover them when you need to. Run frequency is down to 35. So the run frequency is just going to increase or decrease the amount of runs that the teammate of the player yourself is going to make. So down at 35 means that you're going to have to actively try and create attacking opportunities yourself. You're going to have to try a quick 1-2 passing. Yes, at 35, you are still going to spot those players making those runs, but it's not going to be as common. One of the things that I've noticed about this FIFA is that the attackers do diagonal runs so well that they literally just cut teams apart so easily. I don't know if any of you guys have played with a fast attacker like Timo Werner, for instance, can literally just decimate defenders so easily, just catching them on the break. This puts a little bit more emphasis on your ability to be able to spot those runs and create those opportunities yourself. I've left the line height at 50, haven't really changed that. I think there's a lot of emphasis on how you actually set up the formation yourself. So if you want a high line for your defense, then I think setting it at 50 just leaves the preset more to be able to make those adjustments in your actual formation settings rather than the game doing it for you. So the overall line length, I've got it down to 40, so slightly more compact, giving the opportunity for the opposition to utilize the wings more, in turn giving them the opportunity to cross more balls, just giving you more things to think about throughout the game. Like I said at the start of the video, it's not necessarily about making it super realistic. It's more about making it realistic and challenging for you, just because the ultimate difficulty isn't what it could be, and the legendary difficulty is clearly too easy for a lot of us. So having the line length at 40 just puts a lot of the emphasis back onto you to try and get your line set and also be aware of the attacking opportunities that are arising for the opposition. Line width, again, that is set at 40. Just a bit more emphasis on you controlling that aspect of the team rather than the AI doing it for you. And fullback positioning is just preset at 50. Power bars at 50, that's not something that I've changed. That's purely just down to your personal preference. And last of all, the first control error is up to 65. So you really need to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings when you're receiving a ball from a player. Moving on to the CPU gameplay customization now. This has sprint speed and acceleration at 35 and 50, the same as the user player, just to create that overall sort of evenness across the field in terms of the play style of each team, trying to make it more realistic. But where it changes is where we start to move into these areas. So the shot error for the CPU is down to 45, pass error down to 40, so the passes are going to be a lot more accurate. Just gives you that little bit less time to try and think about how you're going to defend. So it's definitely something you need to keep an eye out for. Shot speed and pass speed at 45, and the injury frequency at 50 with the injury severity at 50. Obviously, it's a computer controlled team, so you're not really going to feel the effects of whether they've got players active or not. So just leave those at preset. Goalkeeper ability up to 65. I've toyed about with this being at 70 a few times. It's down to you, your personal preference, but that combined with the fact that you've not got many players making forward runs, I seem to just get along better with 65. But again, if you wanted to increase the goalkeeper ability, you can do. But I think 65 is the perfect marker for that. So marking, run frequency and line height all remains at 50. And so does the line length, so just preset for those aspects of the CPU controlled team. Line width is also at 50, no specific changes, it's purely just down to the team that you come against, and the fullback positioning remains at 50 as well. First touch control is down to 40, so something else you've got to think about, not only are they going to be playing quick passes in with much more accuracy, there's going to be less error from the receiver in terms of getting that ball and moving it on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for checking it out. As I said at the start of the video, if there's any comments you've got, make sure you leave them below. I always enjoy reading your guys' feedback and how you found my slider settings. Obviously, I had a lot of success with the FIFA 20 sliders, and I really appreciate your feedback. If you haven't already, smash a like on the video. And as always, I will see you guys next time on Cali Sunset Gaming.